And remember, you're not alone. Never were. See you next time. My name is Lucas. I'm 27 years old, and there's this thing about gyms that nobody really talks about out loud. It's like a temple of testosterone, right? Weights clanking, people grunting through their sets, mirrors everywhere reflecting these pumped-up muscles. It's where guys go to prove something, to themselves mostly. Strong, focused, no excuses. But then something happened in that very gym. Something that totally messed with my head about what you're supposed to feel when you're just another dude hitting the weights. It all started 3 months ago, when he appeared. Diego. I was doing bench press, 3rd set, when I noticed someone standing next to me. I turned and saw this tall guy, broad shoulders, the kind of build you get from years of grinding, not from some quick gym phase. Dark hair that looked deliberately messy. Stubble that somehow made him look both rugged and, well, attractive. He smiled. Not that gym smile of someone sizing up the competition. It was different. Genuine. Need a spot? He asked, pointing at the bar. Nah, I'm good. Last set, I replied, trying to sound casual while my heart raced for reasons I couldn't name. Let me give you a hand then. Safety first, right? And so it began. Over the next few days, Diego pretty much became my unofficial gym buddy. We always seemed to show up at the same time, always gave each other that, hey, what's up nod when we rolled in. Within a week, we were talking between sets, about workouts, nutrition, work, the usual gym talk. But there was something in his eyes that made me uneasy. You know that feeling when someone looks at you and you can't quite decipher what's going on? Like, is the guy being friendly? Is he evaluating you? Judging you? With Diego, it was different. It was as if he was seeing something in me that I didn't even see myself. And that bothered me. Or rather, it fascinated me in a way that bothered me. Man, your shoulders are getting huge, he said once. And then he actually touched my right shoulder right on the deltoid. It was quick, professional, like a trainer checking your form. But his hand. It stayed there just a moment too long. I pretended not to notice. I gave that awkward smile of someone receiving a compliment and not knowing how to react. Thanks, man. I've been really focusing on military press. It shows, he said, and there was something in his tone. It wasn't just a technical observation. There was approval, recognition, something more. Another week went by. We'd basically become the gym's power couple. Everyone knew us as a pair. People would joke about it. Here come the twins, the front desk guy would say when we walked in, and we'd laugh it off because, well, it was kind of funny. But beneath the laughter, I felt a tension growing. Every workout together was like a strange dance where neither of us quite knew the steps, but we kept dancing anyway. It was on a Tuesday that everything became more intense. The gym was empty. A dead hour between the lunch crowd and the folks who arrive after work. Just me, Diego, and 2 other guys in the opposite corner of the room. Leg press today? Diego suggested, and I agreed. Leg press is intense. You're basically horizontal, legs spread, pushing heavy weight, totally vulnerable. You're completely dependent on your spotter to make sure you don't get pinned mid-rep. Diego loaded the machine. More weight than I usually used. Trust me, he said when he saw my expression. You can handle it. And I believed him. Crazy, right? I barely knew the guy, and I was already trusting him with my physical safety. I positioned myself on the machine, feet firm on the platform. Diego stood beside me, hands ready to help if I needed. Go, lower it with control, he instructed. I started the set. 1, 2, 3 repetitions. The weight was heavy, but I was managing it. That's it. Perfect. Look at those quads working, Diego commented. And then I caught something. He wasn't looking at my quads. Not really. His eyes. The angle was lower. Way lower. Or was I just paranoid? The gym lighting's crazy with all these mirrors bouncing reflections everywhere. Hard to tell what's actually happening. 3 more. You've got this, he encouraged, his voice a little softer, more intimate. My heart pounded. Not from the physical exertion. It was something else. a sharp awareness that I was in a completely exposed position, legs open, body tense with effort, and Diego was right there, watching, too present. I finished the set almost breathless. "Man, you're much stronger than you think," Diego said, offering me his hand to help me off the machine. I grabbed his hand. Strong, rough from all the training. He pulled me up smooth, but pulled me way closer than he needed to. For a second, we just stood there, face to face. I could smell the sweat on him mixed with something woody, his deodorant, I guess. "Thanks," I mumbled, taking a step back. He smiled, that smile again, half enigmatic, half playful. "My turn," he said, and we switched places. Diego lay down on the machine, adjusted his feet, and looked at me. "Watch me real close, yeah? I want you to check if I'm doing this right." Form. He meant his lifting technique, obviously, but something about the way he said it. He started the rep, and I watched. Totally professional, of course. But the more I stared, the more I noticed everything. The way his muscles contracted, the sweat running down his neck, the way he was breathing controlled, focused almost. "I don't know." "You good?" he asked mid-set, his eyes fixed on mine through the side mirror. "Yeah, it's perfect," I replied, and my voice came out hoarser than I expected. He finished the set and stood up in one fluid motion, his breathing quick but controlled. "You're a really good spotter," he said, wiping his face with the towel. "Seriously, it's hard to find someone who actually pays attention like that. It's important, right? Safety. Safety," he repeated, as if the word held a double meaning that only the two of us understood. The rest of the workout passed in a blur of unspoken tension. We continued training, switching exercises, doing what we always did. But something had changed. Or perhaps nothing had changed, and I was just finally noticing something that had always been there. A week passed. The pattern continued. Intense workouts, increasingly personal conversations. He told me about his ex-girlfriend who broke up with him because he didn't open up emotionally. I told him about the pressure at work, about how the gym was my only escape, and with each workout, the tension grew. Little things started happening. His hand on my shoulder to correct my form. The way he always positioned himself so he could watch me in the mirror while I trained. Those weird pauses where he seemed like he had more to say, but held back. Until that Friday arrived. Late afternoon. The gym was starting to fill up with the fitness happy hour crowd. Clanking weights, electronic music pumping, high energy. Diego showed up looking different that day. Tighter tank top, the kind that leaves nothing to imagination. He knew he looked good, and he definitely knew I knew. "Bench press today?" he suggested with that smile. "Let's do it." We set up the bar. Considerable weight. I went first. I lay down on the bench, hands on the bar, Diego positioned behind my head to spot. "Whenever you're ready," he said. I took the bar off the rack. Down, up. First clean rep. Good. Keep going. Second, third, fourth. 2 more. You got this. On the 5th rep, I felt it. His hands weren't just there for safety. His fingers were basically touching mine with every single rep, barely brushing. But there, I finished the set with my heart pounding. "Perfect," Diego murmured, that low voice again. We switched positions. Now I was behind his head, spotting him. Diego adjusted himself on the bench, looked up to where I was, and said something that changed everything. "Stay real close to me, okay? Today I'm going hard. I need you there. Fully there." There. That word hit different. "You got it," I replied. He started the set, and with each rep, I leaned further forward, more attentive, closer. I could feel the heat of his body, see every muscle contracting with the effort. On the last rep, he stalled. The bar stopped halfway. "Come on, push," I urged, my hands ready to help. He pushed, he managed, he put the bar back on the rack with a grunt of effort, but he didn't get up immediately. He stayed there, lying down, chest rising and falling fast, looking up. At me. "Thanks," he said, "for being there. Always." And in that moment, with the noisy gym all around, with people training and talking and living their normal lives, We both got caught in that gaze. Until Diego stood up, shook his head as if trying to clear a thought, and said, "Want to do one more? But this time, I want you to stay even closer. I need to feel like someone's there. You know how it is." And I knew, or rather, I was starting to understand. But understanding meant naming, and naming meant admitting something I wasn't sure I was ready to admit. Diego went back to the bench, positioned himself, but this time, he adjusted his body in a different way. More open, more exposed. "Stay here." He indicated an even closer position. "Right here." I positioned myself. He grabbed the bar, started the set. And then it happened. Mid-third rep, our eyes met in the side mirror. And he didn't look away. He kept looking. Direct. Intense. Without that layer of pretense we always maintained. It was a challenge. It was a question. Maybe both. "Flex for me," he said suddenly, voice low but clear. "I want to see your bicep." I could have laughed. I could have made a joke, but I didn't. I flexed my arm, right there in the middle of the gym, while he continued his bench press set. And that's when I realized. He said, "Flex for me." He asked me to show my bicep, but his eyes weren't looking at my arm. They were looking lower, much lower. Later, in the locker room, while I was grabbing my stuff, he came over and leaned against the locker next to me. "So, coffee?" His voice sounded totally different without all the gym noise and metal clanging. Softer. More genuine somehow. "Sure," I replied, trying to sound casual, even with my heart beating too fast for it to be just about protein. Walking down the street together felt different. Good different. The gym's always loud music blaring, weights crashing. Out here it was quiet. Just us and the city sounds. He walked close. Not leg press close, but close enough that I knew he was there with every step. "I know a place just around the corner," he said. "Good coffee, nice quiet atmosphere, perfect after a heavy workout." Walking in, I got hit with the smell right away. Fresh coffee, baked goods, something warm and comforting. It was the total opposite of the gym. Dim lighting instead of those harsh fluorescents, mellow music instead of heavy rock blasting. People just existing, talking, laughing. There was a couple sitting near the window. 2 men. One of them laughed at something the other had said, and one's hand rested naturally on the table, close to the other's. No one was staring. No one cared. They were just 2 more people having coffee. Something inside me stirred. A strange sensation. Relief, perhaps? Envy? Hope? "Over in the corner?" he suggested, pointing to a more secluded table. We sat down, and as we both looked at the menu in that comfortable silence, I noticed something. Away from the weights and gym atmosphere, away from all that posturing, he seemed different. More relaxed. His shoulders weren't so tight. His smile came easier. Like he could actually breathe properly here. We ordered our shakes, protein for me, something with coffee and whey for him. And then we just sat there. Just the 2 of us, without the excuse of the workout to fill the silence. "How long have you been training?" he asked, breaking the quiet. "About 3 years. Started in college when I needed to get out of my own head." It was true, but incomplete. I didn't mention how much I needed to feel strong, how there was something comforting about controlling my body when nothing else was in my control. He nodded, as if he understood more than I had said. "Me too. The gym has always been my safe space. You know, that place where you can just be you." But as he said it, his eyes said something else, as if the gym was both a refuge and a prison. Our shakes arrived. He took a sip before continuing. "My dad first took me when I was 15. He wanted me to be, I guess, more masculine. Stronger." He laughed, but there was nothing happy in it. Like muscles could fix everything. I held my cup tighter. I knew that story. Variations of it, at least. "And did it solve anything?" I asked softly. He got quiet, staring into his cup like the answers were in there. It gave me somewhere to channel stuff. Anger became reps. Confusion became focus. But solving what my dad needed solving? He shook his head. That was never happening. There was old pain in his voice, the kind that's healed over but still hurts when you touch it. Because the problem, he continued, his eyes finally meeting mine, was never about me not being strong enough. It was about me not being the right kind of man. Not the way he wanted. My heart stopped. Literally stopped for a whole second before starting to beat again. Faster now, louder. He was telling me something. Something real. Something that mattered. Took me forever to get that, he said, his voice getting quieter, more vulnerable. Years of hitting the gym, building all this muscle, thinking if I just got big enough, nobody would question anything. Nobody would doubt. I'd just be another jacked guy. He paused to take another sip, and I realized I was holding my breath. But you can have all the muscle in the world and still wake up knowing you're hiding something. That you're using your body as armor instead of a home. His words hit me like weights dropping to the floor. Because I knew that feeling. God, how I knew. Around us, the coffee shop continued to buzz with life. Conversations mingled, occasional laughter, the barista calling out names. But there, at our corner table, the world had shrunk to just the two of us. I had a boyfriend once. He said it like it was nothing, but his grip on the cup tightened. In college. 6 months. Those were the best 6 months, until my dad found out. My stomach clenched. I knew how this story ended. It always ended the same way. He didn't say anything directly, just the way he looked at me, how he talked to me after that. Days of silence, and I caved. His voice dropped, almost a whisper. I picked his approval, picked peace at home, picked the coward's way out. That wasn't wrong, I said before I could stop myself. You had to. You needed to survive. He looked at me, and there was something in his eyes. Gratitude, perhaps. Or recognition. Thank you for saying that, he murmured. But it doesn't change the fact that I hurt someone. That I hurt myself. That I've spent the last few years living half-heartedly, always afraid someone would see too much, notice too much. He took a deep breath, and I saw his shoulders relax a bit, as if telling this had lifted some invisible weight. That's why the gym became my whole world. It was the only place I could feel anything real, where I could be around other guys, see their bodies, feel that energy, and pretend it was just about the workout. Just normal gym stuff, right? I knew. God, how I knew. The couple near the window stood up to leave, and as they passed us, I saw one of them place a hand on the other's back. A small, unconscious, intimate gesture. So simple and yet so impossible at the same time. But then, he continued, seeing where I was looking, sometimes you meet someone and you realize you're done pretending. Done with all the signals and codes. Done turning every actual feeling into just another set, another rep, just another distraction. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure he could hear it. Sometimes you train with someone, he said, now looking directly at me, without looking away, and you realize the connection is real, that the tension isn't just about weights and form, that when your hands brush during a lift, it's no accident. I couldn't breathe. I literally couldn't make my lungs work. And you get terrified, he said quietly. Because what if you're reading it wrong? What if nobody's feeling what you're feeling? What if you blow up the only real friendship you have because you couldn't keep your feelings locked up? The coffee shop seemed to have fallen completely silent, even though I knew it hadn't. My ears simply blocked out everything else. He placed his cup on the table and leaned slightly forward, arms crossed on the surface, narrowing the distance between us. But then you think, he continued, and there was something different in his voice now. Something determined. Something brave. You think maybe it's worse never to know. Worse to spend the rest of your life wondering, what if? Worse to keep hiding when you could be living. My fingers were trembling. I hid them under the table. He was quiet for a moment, just watching me, studying my face as if memorizing every detail. And then, in a voice that was soft yet firm, so direct it left no room for doubt or interpretation, he asked, Have you ever felt something like this? With a guy at the gym? With someone you train with? The world stopped. Everything stopped. My brain went into overdrive. Run, stay, lie, come clean, protect yourself, jump in, deny, admit everything. Every survival instinct I had built over the past few years, every carefully calibrated defense mechanism, every wall erected to keep me safe, everything screamed at me to deflect, to laugh and make a joke, to turn the question into something less dangerous, less real. But his eyes, God, his eyes. He looked so vulnerable, so exposed. He'd just told me everything, ripped open his chest and shown me his scars. And now he was waiting to see if I was brave enough to do the same. I looked at the coffee cup between my hands. The steam was no longer rising. It had grown cold as I debated internally whether to take that step or not. And then, out of nowhere, the words came out. I felt it the first time you corrected my bench press. Silence. Dead silence for like 3 seconds. But it felt way longer. My heart was hammering so hard I was certain he could hear it in his chest. All the cafe noise just disappeared. It was just him, me, and this confession just sitting there between us. And then he smiled. Not that gym smile, that automatic good workout partner. This was something completely different. There was relief in his eyes. Genuine relief. Dude, I thought it was all in my head. I spent like weeks trying to figure out if I was misreading everything, or if you actually... He stopped, ran his hand through his hair the way I'd noticed he does when he's nervous. I felt it too. From the beginning. The tension that had built up for weeks, all those, is it just friendship? Moments, all the overthinking of every word exchanged during training. Everything collapsed at once. I took this huge breath, like I'd been holding it for weeks and could finally breathe again. So I wasn't just imagining things. He chuckled softly, shaking his head. No, it definitely wasn't just you. And right there at that coffee shop table, with the afternoon sun pouring in, something shifted. We weren't just two gym guys pretending what we felt was just friendship. We were actually admitting something real. But admitting it was just the beginning. Because then came the hardest part. The part nobody teaches you how to do. He leaned forward, arms crossed on the table. Can I ask you something? And I want you to be honest. Go ahead. Were you scared? Of feeling this for me? That caught me off guard. Not because it was too personal, but because it was exactly what I was experiencing and hadn't even let myself admit. I was. Very much. Scared of what? I swallowed hard. Scared of messing up our friendship. Scared you didn't feel the same way. Scared of what it meant if this was actually real. He nodded, like every word was hitting something he was feeling too. I felt that too. Every time training ended and you left, I wondered if I should say something or if I was seeing something that wasn't there. It does. It always has. First time saying that out loud. And man, what a relief. This crazy lightness from finally admitting something I'd been hiding from even myself. And then he did something I didn't expect. He reached his hand across the table. Not to shake mine as if we were closing a business deal, but open, palm up, an invitation. I looked at his hand, his fingers, the calluses from years of lifting, and I put my hand in his. The contact was, man, not in some overdramatic way, but real. I could feel it everywhere. His hand was hot, strong, solid. He interlaced his fingers with mine, and we stayed like that, in the middle of the coffee shop, hands clasped over the table. Is anyone looking? I whispered, not letting go. I don't care. You're the only thing I'm looking at. My heart was going crazy, not from fear or anxiety, from something else entirely, something I'd never actually experienced before. Hope. Hope that this could work out, that it wasn't just physical attraction or admiration during training. It was something deeper, something that could turn into... what exactly? As if reading my thoughts, he squeezed my hand lightly. So what's happening here? Like, what are we? No idea, but I want to find out. Yeah, me too. And then the barista appeared out of nowhere, interrupting the moment. "Will you be needing anything else?" We pulled our hands back instantly, like we'd been caught doing something illegal, but she didn't even notice. She was just doing her job, wiping down tables. "No, we're good. Thanks." She left. We sat there looking at each other, kind of embarrassed, kind of laughing at how we reacted. "Man, we acted like that was forbidden or something." He laughed. "Nah, it's just... It felt really personal, like it was only ours. Hard to explain." "Yeah, I get it, and I really did get it, because what was happening between us was ours. Private. Something we were building in real time right there, at that coffee shop table, with cold coffee and afternoon light. But the barista's interruption brought something to light. A realization that we were in the real world, that this wasn't just a fantasy in my head. It was real, tangible, it was happening. And with that reality came a new wave of questions. He rubbed his face with both hands, as if trying to process everything at once. "So, what do we do now? With this?" "What do you mean?" "Like, at the gym. Are we gonna keep working out together like normal? Or does this change everything?" I hadn't really thought about that part. I was so caught up in figuring out what I felt and reading the signs, I never planned what happens after you say it out loud. "I don't know. Do you want to change?" He shook his head. "No way. I love working out with you. You push me to be better. But I don't think I can fake like it's just friendship when everyone's looking." I laughed because that was exactly how I felt. Then we don't pretend. And everyone will know? That question hit different. Because it wasn't just about telling people. It meant being openly about this. At the gym. Where we spend all our time together. Where everything started. "Do you want them to know?" He was quiet for a moment, thinking, processing. "I don't know. Still figuring out what this is, much less trying to explain it to everyone else." "Yeah, makes sense. But I don't want to hide it either. I don't want to keep acting like you're just my workout buddy when you're obviously way more than that." "Okay then, we figure it out together, at our own pace. No rush." He smiled. That smile I was already beginning to recognize as exclusively mine. No pressure. And then he reached across the table again. This time not worrying about who might see. And I took it. Because everything I'd been hoping for, everything I'd been imagining the past few weeks, it was actually happening. He felt it too. We were both in this. We stayed there a few more minutes. Talking, laughing, getting to know each other beyond the surface, beyond the sets and reps. And when we finally left the coffee shop, it was already getting dark. He walked me to my car. Before I opened it, he took my arm gently, softly, not forcing anything. "Thanks, for being honest, for not freaking out when I asked." "No, thank you, for being brave enough to ask." He smiled. For a second I thought he was gonna kiss me right there in the parking lot. But he didn't. Instead, he just squeezed my arm and said, "Tomorrow, at the gym, tomorrow." I got in the car, started the engine, and as I drove home, I couldn't stop smiling, because everything I had hoped for was real. Then halfway home my phone buzzed. A message from him. "There's something I didn't ask today, but I need to know." I pulled up to a red light, heart going again, hands sweating. "What?" He's typing. He stops, types again, like he's trying to get the words just right. And then the message arrived. "Are you willing to really try? Like, not just training together and seeing what happens, but really try to build something?" I read it. That question, so raw and real, and I knew exactly what to say. "Yeah, I really want to try." He responded right away. "Then tomorrow isn't just another session. It's the start of everything." I was smiling like an idiot in my car. Light turned green. I drove, but I wasn't really paying attention, because tomorrow at the gym, everything was going to feel completely different. We weren't just gym buddies anymore. We were something new, something unnamed, but it was ours. For the first time in forever, I wasn't anxious about what came next. I had hope, but there was still something in the air. A question he hadn't asked yet, but I knew was coming. How do we actually do this? At the gym? With everyone watching? It's one thing to admit it over coffee, but living it in the place where everyone calls us the training partners? That was going to be a whole different thing, and I knew we'd figure it out together tomorrow, at the place where it all started. We went back to that same coffee shop, same place where he opened up about his past, where I finally found the guts to be real. But it felt different now. No tension, no fear, just this sense of knowing. He was holding his coffee, looking at me with that same intense focus I'd seen a million times. But this time I understood what it meant. And yeah, I loved it. I need to be clear about what this is, he said, his voice steady but soft. About us. My pulse picked up, not scared, excited. I was ready for this, finally ready. Yeah, me too, I said, leaning in a bit. He breathed deep. I don't want this to be some gym thing. Not casual. I don't want to pretend it's smaller than it actually is. I smiled. So what is it? Everything, he said straight up. You're everything to me. Since day one when I watched you working on your bench form and pretending you weren't checking me out in the mirror. I laughed. I really thought I was being discreet. You weren't, he smiled. But neither was I. Every time I asked you to flex, every time I corrected your form by getting closer than I needed to, I knew exactly what I was doing. What were you doing then? He took my hand across the table. Right there in the coffee shop. No hiding. No fear. I was trying to see if you felt it too. Trying to work up the nerve to tell you what I actually wanted. Which was? You, he said. Simple. Direct. Just you. Not as a training partner, not just friends. I wanted to think about you when I woke up. Work out next to you every single day. Know every real part of you, not just the gym version. My throat went tight. Nobody ever looked at me like this. Nobody ever wanted me like this. I want that, I said quietly. Everything. But real talk, it freaks me out. Not you. But it's new. It's too real. And for the first time ever, I'm not faking who I am. He squeezed my hand tighter. That's exactly what I want. The actual version. The scared version. The one still figuring it out. No fantasy. Just you. I closed my eyes for a second. Let those words soak in. When I opened them, he was watching me like I was the only thing that mattered. Okay, I said. Then let's do this. Really do it. No pretending, no casual. Both of us building something real. He smiled that smile, the one that gets me every time. Like, exclusive? Yeah, exclusive. Future stuff, meeting parents eventually, all that? I laughed. Let's not rush, but yes, eventually. All of it. You changed everything for me, he said, his voice getting emotional. Before you showed up, the gym was just routine. I was going through the motions. But then you came in and suddenly everything had color, purpose. Every single day you walked in was instantly better. My eyes started burning. You made me honest, with myself, about what I want. You showed me being vulnerable isn't weak. That's what it actually is, he said. Then he leaned across and kissed me. Right there in that busy coffee shop, middle of the afternoon. Not some long dramatic thing, soft, real, perfect. Everything we just promised, sealed, right there. When we stopped, I realized nobody even noticed, or didn't care. And like that, all that fear I always carried, that I had to hide who I am, just disappeared. We should go back to the gym, he said with that grin. Right now? Nah, not to work out, he said. I just want to be there with you. Where this started. But this time, we're together. Boyfriends. That word hit me in places I didn't know were empty. We walked back to the gym holding hands. Nobody made a big deal. Some people looked, but not judging. One of the dudes who's always doing heavy squats just nodded at us like, yeah, I see you. The gym looked the same. Iron smell. Weights clanging. Guys talking about reps and protein powder. But everything about me felt different. We went to that bench, the one where everything started. He laid down, looked up at me with that smile. Gonna spot me? Yeah, always, I said. He started lifting, and I was standing above him just like 1,000 times before. But when our eyes met this time, there was nothing confusing about it. No weird tension, just love. Flex for me, he said after his last rep. That same thing that started all this. I flexed, and yeah, his eyes went straight down, same as always. But now I knew exactly what that meant, and I was good with it. Damn, he said quietly, and there was no misreading it. Just pure honesty, wanting me, loving me. Looking around the gym, I realized something. I came here months ago looking for physical strength, trying to build muscle, change my body, fit into that masculine world. And yeah, I did all that, but I got so much more. I found someone who really saw me, who didn't just accept my vulnerability, celebrated it. Someone who took a place of intimidation and made it into acceptance. You okay? He asked, wiping sweat off with his towel. Yeah, just thinking about how I came to get bigger and left with everything else. He pulled me in by the waist. Like what? Like love. Being accepted, being brave enough to be myself, and this amazing guy. Smooth talker, he said with a grin. But I saw the feeling in his eyes. We trained the rest of that afternoon. All that weird tension was gone. What replaced it was deeper, real closeness, partnership, knowing no matter what, we're doing this together. After, we sat on the bench outside watching the sun go down, and he put his arm around me. Small thing, meant everything. What happens next? I asked. Whatever you want, he said. But first, real dinner? Like an actual couple? Yeah, that's perfect. We stayed there a bit, just being together in the place that changed everything for us. I came to get strong, and I did, but not how I thought. Real strength isn't muscles or weight. It's being brave enough to be vulnerable, being honest about what you feel, accepting who you actually are. And it all came from a guy who said flex for me but was actually looking somewhere totally different. I get it now. He wasn't checking out my body. He was trying to see me, the real me underneath all the fear and pretending. And when I finally let him see me, when I dropped all the walls, I found something I didn't even know I needed. Home. Love. Myself. I looked at this guy, patient with me, gentle about my fears, showing me that being real isn't just possible, it's the only way to actually live. Thanks, I said. For what? For seeing me, when I was still figuring out how to see myself. He kissed my forehead. Thank you for letting me. We sat watching the stars come out, talking about our future, laughing about everything that happened, existing in that space between who we were and who we're becoming together. The gym became more than just a place to lift. It became where I actually found myself, where I learned masculinity and vulnerability aren't enemies, where I realized love shows up in the weirdest places. And it started with one request: flex for me. But it ended with something way bigger. Two guys, completely honest, completely open, completely in love. This is just the start of our story. Families to meet, learning to be a couple in the world, building a life together. But right now, with his arm around me and tomorrow looking bright, I just need this moment, this man, this realness. I walked into a gym as a stranger to myself. I'm walking out whole. If you're thinking about taking the risk, about being vulnerable, about being honest about who you are and what you want, do it. Trust me, because past fear is everything you've been wanting. Past vulnerability is real connection. Past honesty is love. Ever found love somewhere unexpected? Ever let somebody really see you? All of you? This is just the beginning of our story. So much life ahead. So much love to explore. Right now, I'm just gonna stay with this. With him. In our gym. Our place. Where everything shifted because of a look, a request, and the guts to be real. Flex for me, he said. And I did. Not just my arms. My whole heart. Everything. And man, best choice I ever made.